Hey everyone, this is Coach K coming to you live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I hope everyone's doing good today, and I figure we can work on a little bit of our textbook, the MLK. I don't know if you can see it, Strength to Love. And what we're going to do is the last 3 chapters, and we're just taking section by section so that we can do coaching sessions, mentorship and training and instruction on what to do and where to go from here as leaders and professionals. We're on the actual second segment. We didn't completely finish it because it was a very long one. And so what we're going to do is try to get in here and read the rest of it. Okay, so bear with me. So while I read this, we're going to get this done. Okay, so Dr. King starts off with this. We must pray earnestly for peace, but we must also work vigorously for disarmament and the suspension of weapon testing. We must use our minds as rigorously to plan for peace as we have used them to plan for war. We must pray with unceasingly passion for racial justice, but we must also use our minds to develop a program, organize ourselves into mass nonviolent action, and employ every resource of our bodies and souls to bring an end to racial injustice. We must pray unrelentingly for economic justice, but we must also work diligently to bring into being those social changes that make for a better distribution of wealth within our nation and in the undeveloped countries of the world. Does not all of this reveal the fallacy of thinking that God will cast evil from the earth, even if man does nothing except to sit complacently by the wayside? No prodigious thunderbolt from heaven will blast away evil. No mighty army of angels will descend to force men to do what their wills resist. Okay, the Bible portrays God not as an omnipotent Caesar who makes all the decisions for his subjects, nor as a cosmic tyrant who with Gestapo-like methods invades the inner lives of men, but rather as a loving father who gives to his children such abundant blessing as they may be willing to receive. Always man must do something. Stand upon the 5 feet, says God to Ezekiel, and I will speak unto you. Man is no helpless invalid left in a valley of total depravity until God pulls him out. Man is rather an upstanding human being whose vision has been impaired by the cataracts of sin and whose soul has been weakened by the virus of pride. But there is a sufficient vision left for him to lift his eyes unto the hills, and there remains enough of God's image for him to turn his weak and sin-battered life toward the great physician, the curer of the ravages of sin. That was very powerful. The real weakness of the idea that God will do everything is its false conception of both God and man. It makes God so absolutely sovereign that man is absolutely helpless. It makes man so absolutely deprived that he can do nothing but wait on God. It sees the world as so contaminated with sin that God totally transcends it and touches it only here and there through a mighty invasion. This view ends up with a God who is a despot and not a father. It ends up with such a pessimism concerning human nature that it leaves man little more than a helpless worm crawling through the morass of all evil world. But man is neither totally deprived nor is God an almighty dictator. We must surely affirm the majesty and sovereignty of the almighty monarch who will impose his sovereignty of God, but this should not lead us to believe that God is an almighty monarch who will impose his will upon us and deprive us of the freedom to choose what is good or what is not good. He will not thrust himself upon us nor force us to stay home when our minds are bent on journey to some degrading far country, but he follows us in love. And when we come to ourselves and turn our tired feet back to the Father's house, He stands waiting with outstretched arms and forgiveness. Therefore, we must never feel that God will, through some breathtaking miracle or a wave of the hand, cast evil out of the world. As long as we believe this, we will pray unanswerably prayers and ask God to do things that He will never do. The belief that God will do everything for man is an untentable as the belief that man can do everything for himself. It is based on a lack of faith. We must learn that to expect God to do everything while we do nothing is not faith, but superstition. So today we're going to, that ends the section 2 now, and we'll go into section 3 next time. So let's kind of take that apart. Now, King was trying to inform us that we are very special beings. We were created to be very special. And we are able to make choices because in the Garden of Eden, there was the tree of good and evil. So we are in opportunities to do that, to make choices of good and evil, choices of accuracy or inaccuracy, choices of to learn or not to learn, choices. So we chose that as a primary instinct. And then, Tree of Life came later. So with that said, we are trying to agree with Dr. King in regards to his training and coaching and mentorship, that in order for us to overcome evil with good, we have to get into the economic justice system. This is what he was trying to say, was to create more businesses, to develop more labor leadership, leadership and servitude, to be able to monopolize and gain access to the economy as the head and not the tail. And in order for us to do that as a slave nation that had come into this country without, power, without capital, without resources, as property owned, human traffic violated and vindicated through self-faith or God faith, we gained access to this new world freedom. And so with this freedom, we have to find creative ways to build consciousness, because a lot of us are not conscious, which means like some of us are sleeping because they are ready to move to the next playing field. This playing field has been very technically wrong for them. Foul play. People don't want to play the game. They want to sit on the bench and they want to get to the next life, because this life is not worth fighting for in their mind. And that's where the slumber comes. And so now we have those that do not slumber, that want to address these issues, that want to change the game, that want to build a new world. And they are coming from the oppressed societies. They're coming from a society without resources, without capital, without power, without leadership, without privilege. And they want to make a transformation in this world. And so they want an action plan. They want a strategy that works, like King David. They want to be able to slay the giants, or to slay the demonic opposition against their freedom of speech, their freedom of life for nonviolence, their freedom of opportunity to be left alone because they're not being unlawful, but just want to be in a world of peace. The only that God can give. So they righteously stand up for righteous through their communication systems, through their conversations, through their opportunities to address these issues. Is the first and basic level. The second basic level is to get into the industry of workforce and become leaders by dominating the workforce, like into the entertainment business, where film or like music and sports, and then they dominate in other areas like entrepreneurship, where they take on the responsibility to build a product or service that a vast population is eager to dive into, like restaurant, hospitality services, and tourism. And this creates this new platform, this equal playing platform for the slave nation, that has transformed their talents, transformed their skills, transformed their generational labor into a valuable capital, what you call human capital, as well as resource capital. And they learn how to implement and integrate it into capitalism, into colonialism, into commercialization. So this is the kind of the journey that kind of catapult from Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s strategy to have a nonviolent world through working its talents and skills into products and services that they give each other value in resources, value in freedom, value in opportunities, value in safety and security, value in self-discipline, values of all of the what we call needs assessment and motivation assessment with Maslow's hierarchy. And this is what the encouraging, strategy that King saw in his vision as a prophet or as a clairvoyant that believed in his skill and talent to see the future. He says, I have a dream, and in this dream, this happens, and we do make it to the promised land. We do get to live in the promised land. We do get to eat and receive the life of paradise as a slave nation, as a world that's been oppressed for 400 years through mass incarceration, through sex trafficking, through human trafficking, through raping, through abandonment, through neglect, through abuse, through cruelties and unusual punishment, imprisonment and alienation, through hostilities, through hate. We have been able to say that we made it across into the promised land, into what we call a world where we are given freedom and access to quality of life, quality health, quality happiness, quality of holiness, that we're not deprived from it. We're not denied access to it. We're not denied a quality lifestyle. And we get a chance to choose, good from evil. We get to become decision makers. And now we are able to enter into a righteous level of decision making. So we can continue this legacy if we choose to, of servitude and leadership, or we can abandon it and become decision makers that join with the evil forces, or abandon the idea of responsibility of socially to give others access to love and to faith and to hope and to freedom and to resources. And so we are in hope that the slave nation chooses not only to do good unto others, but also exceeds and transcends into leadership, become the head and not the tail, financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, through the everlasting government as the tree of life and not the tree of death. This is where the tree of life swallows up death and finds a way. Love finds a way to bring back death. People that have died or decreased or deceased or crossed over or disconnected. Love finds a way to bring them home, finds a way to bring them back to their loved ones, finds a way to bring them back to those that crossed over the promise, finds a way to make right what has been done wrong to a population that moved through time, 400 years of selfless, countless labor of love into the earth, so that civilization, so the world can be born, for the world of God, so love the world could be born. This is the work that they did, to bring and manifest the world, not to be oppressed by the evil, not to be destroyed by wickedness, but to do the labor and to do the work of love, to be the harvesters, to harvest what's in the earth. And they have done an excellent job. This is Coach K signing off. One love, much love, all love to you and your family and tribe and your world. Peace and blessings. Thank you for joining.